Hey everybody, it's Christian Johnson with the CCM Magazine. So glad to have all of you here today. And I have a special guest with me today. I have none other than the one and the only Lecrae. How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm good. Busy, but I'm good. I'm blessed, man. I can't
Yeah.
complain.
Well, I know you're busy. You got a lot going on in your life. You're a husband, a father, and I actually saw some of your interviews that you had with your own kids. So hopefully my questions won't be as hard as some of those questions they was asking you.
I hope not, man. Boy, they laid it on.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, once again, speaking of your videos, you actually had a video with 1K Few as well, where y'all were actually prank calling some folks, and y'all were talking about the No Church in a While album. And how was that? You know, I saw that you actually won a Stella Award this year for Best Rap Hip Hop Album of the Year. So how does that feel, and what was it like making the album? Y'all clearly have a great relationship, so.
Yeah, it's like my little brother, man. I love just being able to get time with him and just to be able to invest in him, and just to see him grow. You know, this is the award is bigger than just the music. It's really a representation of the faithfulness and consistency that he's put in, and
Mhm.
just the courage that he's had. You know, so I'm really and truly grateful to see him, uh, be able to take home those honors.
Right, right. Well, of course, you're not just an artist, but you're also the president and co-founder of Reach Records. So, you've signed several other artists. 1K Few is one of them, as well as Tadashi, Wande, and What Up RG. You know, what do you look for when you're signing these artists? I mean, I know it's a lot of talent out there coming at you. So when you select these artists, what is it that you see in them?
A lot of it is like is something in them that is self-motivated, because the last thing you want to do is like have to push and pull somebody along.
Mm,
They kind of have to have a drive to, and a passion. It's that passion for what they do. So you don't have to like micromanage them, but you just realize like they're gonna get the work done. And so
mm.
that's really what we're looking for, most of the time. And then of course, you want character. I mean, you don't have to be perfect, but we love for you to at least be humble enough to learn and to grow.
Right, right. Well, I think that's great. And like I said, you open up these amazing doors for other people. And God can't help but bless you back. And you also got the Unashamed Tour coming up as well, right? You guys are doing that.
Yeah, so that'll be coming up next year. We had to postpone it because of a lot of logistical issues. I mean, end
Mm,
of the day, that supply chain demand with getting all the equipment and the transportation we needed because of COVID was crazy. So
mm.
we just postponed it, but it will be back. So best believe we coming.
Right. So what is that going to feel like, getting everybody back together and, doing this tour again? I mean, that's going to be great. I know.
Yeah, great chemistry. Us just being able to talk. We have a group chat, so we talk, regularly within the group chat. But everybody's been busy too, recording. So everybody's in the studio, either wrapping up their albums or working on new stuff. So we've all been really busy, but it's been good overall.
Mm. Well, that's cool. Well, I tell you what, me and my brother probably definitely gonna try to come. He's actually the one that introduced me to your music. I think the first song I heard by you was Nothing, and I absolutely fell in love with that song. So definitely excited for the tour. But you've actually got a new album out now. This actually, I guess, an installment. I guess you can call of Church Clothes. So you got Church Clothes 4 that's coming out. So I know with the original Church Clothes, you kind of gave a commentary on your feelings towards the church and how there's a lot of things we can do better at. Can we kind of expect the same with this installment? And what can we expect?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a message for people inside and outside the church, and that's what this is. I think right now we're a little, some of us are falling away from God, and some of us are confused or afraid to really take a firm stance on the things that we know God has said. And so
Mhm.
this is just giving people some encouragement and some courage to really be who we've been called to be. Because we're always battling against the world, the flesh, and the devil, and of course the world is going to tell us that there's a way that is the right way to go, and it's what everyone else is doing. But we've got to be firm and know that God has a way that's righteous, and that's the way that we ultimately need to follow.
Right. Okay. Okay. So 1 month ago, you actually the video for Spread the Ops came out. So it was a dope video, and also too, like I said, the same message is there. So what are some of the themes that you hope people grasp from watching the video, and also too from the lyrics that you put into the song?
Yeah, I hope the video creates conversation, where
Mm,
people are having to wrestle with stuff, because that's where it starts. We got to at least be able to have a conversation. We got to stop talking at people, start talking to people, start talking to one another, and wrestle with things. And we have some conversations, and not just opinions flying everywhere. And then also, I wanted people to realize that we have a real enemy that wants us divided. And
mm.
instead of him spreading us out, let's spread the ops out, get the enemy spread out and away from us, so that we can do the work that we've been called to do.
Right. Well, you talk about the enemy trying to make us divided. You've actually been one that has collaborated with several major gospel artists as well as major secular artists. So, and some people don't like that. So, what do you say to people that, kind of give you that backlash? And, why do you think it's necessary that we bridge the gap and feed the gospel no matter what people believe?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their views and opinions, and I mean, some people really um are only doing it because it looks good or it makes them feel like they're more accomplished. I've always been the type of person that wanted to build genuine relationships, and always felt like a missionary, and always felt like, God called me to go to the uttermost parts of the world to reach people. So whether that's on a flight to another country, or whether that's getting in the studio with somebody who doesn't see the world the same way that I do, I want to build those relationships. And making a song is not the same as letting somebody preach at your church. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Mm,
not a pastor. I don't have a congregation. These people are not seeing me as their spiritual shepherd. That's a role in the office of the church. We're just creating art. And so it's the same as if I was to go paint an installation with a non-believer painter. It's the same as if I was to craft a movie with a non-believer or anything like that. It's creating art, but we have to agree on what the outcome is. And so
mm.
obviously we're saying, hey, I'm not gonna allow you to paint, profane things or things that would dishonor my God on this piece of art that we're making together. And so, there's a respect there, and no artist I've ever collaborated with has tried to push that line ever.
Mm. Well, I think that's great, and I think what you said is key. Is that if we're going to bridge this gap, we have to have our standards, and let's set the standard first, and make sure we can agree on that. I think that's the problem with a lot of people. They don't know how to agree to disagree, and just find what we like together, and we can make this thing together. But I think media is the main place where people have an issue with that. Whether it's making movies, whether it's making music, they don't like to see us kind of merge that line between the world and the church.
Right.
But I'm glad to see people like you that do that and do it well. But I will say this personally, that I've noticed that the church is being viewed negatively just in mainstream media as a whole. From movies, a lot of people making movies now down in the church. People are talking about it. So, what do you think? And unfortunately, some of the backlash that we get is true. I mean, it's just just the truth of it. So, what do you think the church and Christians can do to kind of change the narrative a little bit and make sure that we are open to everybody, but at the same time holding our standards and don't compromise?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said it. It's like we have to be open, but at the same time, walk the walk that we walk. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've been inconsistent, and
Mm,
so we've got to present ourselves as consistent, and we've got to deal with our own in a way that is loving and gracious, and restore them. Obviously, it's like, if you don't have any leadership in your life or any community, you're going to go out there and make poor decisions. But if you have community, that community is going to restore you in the way that you should be restored, and you're going to have to face the consequences of your actions as well.
mm,
And that helps us to not make those types of mistakes and deal with that type of stuff anymore. I think the issue is when we come off self-righteous, like we have it all together, we're these perfect people. Then when one of us falls in the public or has some kind of issue, the world will celebrate that, because, like, see,
mm.
y'all was telling us how bad we
Right,
was, and
right.
look at you. Instead, I think we should be gracious and loving toward people outside of the church, because obviously they're not following the same guidelines we're following. So we can't hold them to that same standard. So we have to be very gracious, very loving, very caring toward them, so that when they mess up, or when we mess up, they're like, well, the way they treated me when I was messed up was so loving and gracious. I don't want to look at them as terrible people either. I would hope that they would, deal with their own in a gracious way. So that just, again, human beings are gonna be human beings. We all
Mm.
gonna mess it up. That's why we need a savior.
Right, right. Well, I think that's great. And one thing we got to remember is that Christ didn't just come for the church. I know, oftentimes we talk about the Pharisees, how, he came and corrected them. And I think sometimes we have to be open to the conversation that we don't have it all together. So I'm glad that you're making this church close fourth installment of that, because we need to have that dialogue a little bit more. So when is the album actually coming out, and where can people get it?
Yeah, it comes out this fall, November specifically, and man, you can stream it on every platform available. I want people to, there's gonna be stuff you'll see on social media. There's gonna be stuff you'll see on YouTube. There's gonna be, on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. Man, just go stream it, because what you're doing when you do that is you're telling the world what that we have a voice and that we have a taste, and that when we go on tours and people sell them out, what we're telling the world is that, man, people care. And yes, it's amazing to support worship, it's amazing to support gospel, but I will say this, man, we've got to support the hip-hop community, the Christian hip-hop community, because what the younger generation is listening to is mainstream hip-hop. And if you want to change their taste, you've got to support some of these artists so that their music gets seen and put in the places needs to be.
Right. Well, I 100% agree. Like I said, I was introduced to your music a long time ago, but I'm glad to see that you're still making relevant music and still making relevant connections, and paving the way for these up and coming artists, as we talked about before, because they definitely need somebody that's doing it and doing it well. So I appreciate you, and happy for you and all that you got coming up. So, but once again, thank you for coming out and talking with us today, and look forward to the album.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Much love to you.